بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. What are the major differences between Islam and Shiasm? Many people, including the Shias themselves, believe that Shiasm is a branch of Islam. Others, like me, and some Shia as well, believe it's a different religion than Islam. For example, in the Iranian constitution, the Khomeini constitution, that's the current one, it says that the official religion of the state of Iran is Shiasm. It does not say Islam. Allah says in the Quran, Inna ad-deena inda Allah al-Islam. The religion that Allah accepts is Islam. Anyway, regardless of whether people can attribute themselves to Islam or not, let's talk about the differences, the major differences. There are many, many minor ones, but let's talk about the very major ones that are obstacles to uniting the Muslims and the Shias, or the Sunnis, which are the majority of the Muslims, and the Shias. Right, let's start. Bismillah. The first major difference between the majority Muslims and the Shias is the Khilafah, the leadership of the Muslims after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. According to history and to the majority of Muslims, or almost all the Muslims for the first 50 years, they acknowledged that the leaders who led the new Muslim state after the death of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who were Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali, in that order. They were the legitimate rulers. Some 60, 70 years on, after the death of the Prophet, a group of people claimed, no, it should have been the fourth caliph, who was Ali, should have been the first. And not only that, it should have been the Khilafah, the leadership. Khilafah means leadership, or succession, actually, literally speaking, means succession. The succession of the Prophet should have been with his cousin Ali and the offsprings of Ali. But for the first 60 years, including Ali and his sons, Hassan, Hussein, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, radiallahu anhum, may Allah be pleased with them, they all have accepted the Khilafah in that order. Anyway, but one can say, but this is history. Let's move on. Oh, there is a problem with that. The problem is the Shias not only reject the first three caliphs, they make of them as blasphemous group of people, criminals, nothing to do with Islam, renegades. To them, they have left Islam after the Prophet died. Now, this is a problem for the majority of Muslims, because we believe that they were an example, or there were examples of piety, of great leadership, of achievement. I mean, after the Prophet died, they spread Islam almost from China to Europe, to North Africa, to Spain, to France. Almost all the Muslims of the world are indebted to these people who spread Islam to India, Pakistan, Central Asia, North Africa, Central Africa. But they say, no, they were criminals and they left Islam. And so, see, this is plus another major problem for Muslims, which I have explained it more fully, about this problem of cursing the early Sahabas, companions of the Prophet. Sahaba means companions of the Prophets. That Allah praised them and He called them the believers. So disagreement with that is a blasphemy. So I explained that in another video, which you'll find it on YouTube. Are the Shias Muslims according to the Quran? Right? So this is a major problem because of their slandering of the Sahabas. To us, they have left Islam, or to many Muslims. So this is one major problem, difference between us and them is the Khilafah. Who should have been the successor and the status of the early leaders of Islam. The second major difference between Muslims and Shias is the alternative to Sahaba, to Khalifas, the alternative to the Khalifas. While they rejected those first, and they said it should have been Ali and his offsprings. Well, for the Sunnis or the majority of Muslims, we have no problem with Ali and his offsprings. But they were not leaders. In reality, they were not. They say, Shia, say that the Prophet appointed Ali as a leader after him. But Ali wasn't aware of that because neither him nor his children ever said that we should have been the leaders, or it was taken, or the Prophet appointed us. Some of them, I must admit, said we should have been, but none of them said we were appointed. That's a different thing. What you believe in yourself and what the Prophet believed in you. Right? Some of them, but the majority, including Ali, never said the Prophet appointed me. Right? Okay, one can say this is history. Let it pass. No, it can't from either side. Neither we can let it pass, nor they. Why can't we let it pass and forget about it? Because it became this matter of imama, means the leadership. They used the word, we used khilafa, succession, to them imama, leadership. It's not an only difference in terminology. No, there is a little bit more than this. There is the concept of imama. To them, the imam, singular, imam, singular, of imams, the imam, and 12 of them, or even more, they were superhuman beings. They were infallible. They could not make a mistake. They knew the future. They were inspired. They were revealed to by God. So this is, for a Muslim to accept this is a blasphemy again. While the Quran and the Prophet clearly stated that the prophethood will end forever with Prophet Muhammad. There were many prophets before him, but none after him. The Shia would not have that. They don't call their imams prophets, they call them inspired, infallible, better than prophets as well. So that's not prophet. Not only that, they give them super tasks or divine tasks. Like some imam is in charge of the wind, another imam is in charge of heaven, another imam is in charge of sustenance. It reminds me of the gods of the Greek, the mythology of the Greek, where they had God for the sun, God for the moon, God for love, God for hate. This is very similar. Those imams, the 12 imams, each one of them does run some task, universal task, that at the end someone said they left nothing for God to do because the imam doing everything. So this is the problem, that we can't overlook it and say, okay, let's unite and forget about cursing the Sahaba that Allah praised, or making human beings as divine creatures. That's the second major problem. The third problem is the mut'ah. Mut'a means legalized prostitution. The difference between prostitution and fornication and adultery is that adultery or fornication could be carried out for free. Both sides agree. When we talk about rape, with the agreement of both sides, you can commit adultery or fornication. But if you pay fees, it becomes prostitution. And the Shia insist on the fees. So prostitution is a relationship between a man and a woman who are not legally bound by marriage for a certain time and a certain fees. That's prostitution. I know I'm defining something which is very easy and everybody knows it, but I'm insisting that because if the fees are not there, then this is not mut'ah. That is not allowed in Shiasm. You got to pay the fees. And how it is done? Without the permission of the parents of either side or even the knowledge of anybody, a woman can say to a man, you can enjoy me for so much money for so long time. And the man agrees, gives her the fees, and she becomes lawful to him according to them. Now they say, the Shia, so to us this is for adultery, fornication, for prostitution. They say it was allowed during the Prophet time. This is half of the truth, which we all know. Half the truth is always worse than a lie, because the other half would clear it. We answer that the rulings of Islam were not revealed overnight. It took 23 years of revelations to complete Islam, the rulings of Islam, the guidance of Islam, the Quran, 23 years of revelations, a bit at a time. So during that long time, whatever was not mentioned as unlawful was lawful. This is the ruling in Islam. If it is not haram, it is halal. If it's not declared haram, it's halal. So you see some fruits, for example, you've never seen it before. Is this halal or haram? Can I eat it or not? The answer is, if you know it is not being made haram, it's not being made unlawful, then it is lawful. So, at the beginning, Muslims did not pray. Or they used to pray for the first 10 years of Islam, but not 5 times a day, because 5 times became prescribed after 10 years. Muslims used to drink alcohol, wine, a lot, during daytime, at night. And the Prophet knew that. He never drank, but major companions used to drink. It wasn't unlawful. One day it was made unlawful. Muslims stopped drinking. Marrying a polytheist, an atheist, unbelievers, non-Christian, non-Jew, marrying her was lawful. So the companions of the Prophet had wives who were not Muslims. Some of the women companions of the Prophet had a non-Muslim husbands. So one day they were told by Allah, revelation came, you cannot marry an atheist. So they were divorced. Another example, some Muslims had more than 4 wives. One day again, within those 23 years, a new order came from Allah, you cannot marry more than 4. So Muslims had to divorce the extra, more than the 4th wife. Some Muslims were married to 2 sisters. Thus again became unlawful. When it became unlawful, that means doing it after that becomes adultery. If you have 4 wives and you marry 5th one, the 5th one will be an adulterous state. Okay? So did the Sahaba commit adultery? No, it was not unlawful. Okay? The same with marrying 2 sisters. The same with marrying An atheist, till today, if you marry an atheist, that's an adultery. It's not a valid contract. The same mut'a. During the Prophet time, the Sahaba did mut'a, marrying women for a certain time and giving the fees. That was true. I'm telling you, just like drinking wine. They were drinking wine, drinking alcohol, freely, openly, nothing secret. So the Prophet saw that and he allowed it because it was not made, this wasn't him who making things halal and haram. It wasn't the Prophet who was making the major decisions on Islam about what is lawful, what's unlawful. It was Allah. So then one day the Prophet was inspired that this mut'a is haram. And since that day, Muslims did not do it. Well, the Shia say, no, no, it's in Bukhari and Umar, somebody changed that. No. Well, that's their opinion. But look at the Sunnis, no single Sunni from the days of from the last days of the Prophet, because this is when it was prohibited, till today, and even the Imams, the Shia Imam, what they call them Imams, they did not practice the mut'a, the prostitution. So this is the third major difference, and we cannot have it. We cannot have amongst us Shia. We can't unite with the Shia, and then one day they come and ask for your daughter for half an hour, or a week, or a weekend. Anyway, so this is another very big major obstacle. The Shia insist, and they bring you verse of the Quran, etc. Okay, this is what you understand. We don't understand that. We don't see it this way. I mean, here we're not going to argue and bring. There are many debates between Muslims and Shia to prove them wrong and they to prove the other side wrong. This is not the place for it, but I'm saying Muslims, Sunnis don't practice this prostitution at all. They don't call it prostitution, but it is marriage for a fixed time and a fixed fee. Done. The fourth major problem between us and them is taqiyya. Taqiyya means it's a Shia practice, not Sunni practice. Sunni practice in one case, I'll mention it later. Taqiyya means you do not have to tell the Sunnis what your beliefs are. Say, if you fear for, if you are a minority amongst Sunni majorities, you have to agree with them with everything. Call them brothers, and yes, and there was nothing wrong with Umar, nothing wrong with the Prophet's wives, but they attacked the Prophet's wives badly as well. Right, they're honorable people, etc. But we know it's taqiyya because when they are majority, the Shia, they persecute the Sunnis and attack the Sahaba and practice the mut'a and uh, uh, and believe in the infallibility of their imams. So they have all these things. So this taqiyya again, we don't know whether Shia telling the truth or lies or lying, right? Because these are the major differences, and because the Shia have separated themselves from the Sunnis, over the time they introduced many other practices which became laws, like they pray on a stone, and to them going to Iraq, a town in Iraq called Karbala, is better than the pilgrimage to Mecca. The way they pay their charity, we pay 2.5%, they pay 20%, we pay to the poor, they pay it to their scholars. You know, these turban scholars, they take 20% from these people. There is another major problem as well between us and them, and that is they believe in a hidden imam called Al-Mahdi. And they say Sunnis believe in Al-Mahdi as well. Al-Mahdi is, according to Sunni and Shia beliefs, a righteous man who will come towards the end of the time, just before the Day of Judgment, and he will rule the Muslims. This is as far as the similarities, but the difference is great. Just like the difference between what we believe about Isa, Jesus, and what the Christians believe about Jesus. We believe Jesus was a human being and a messenger of God, while the Christians believe that he was son of God. That's a big difference. The same to the Shia, the Mahdi is a living being, human being who is living, and he's been living for the past 1200 years. And he meets some of the top scholars. Every now and then, a Shia scholar claimed that he met him. We don't know where. No cameras allowed, no recording allowed. Just every now and then, till now and then, the Shia scholar said, I met him. So this guy living, he's been 1,200 years alive. And one day it could be 1,000 years, could be a million years, it could be tomorrow, I don't know, but at least 1,200 years for sure, he's been alive and giving instructions to certain people, and they spread this. And again, see, so when he comes, we both believe in him. But when he comes back to us, he is not an absent uh, being that will appear. He is a human being. He will be born at the time, and then when he grows up, he will lead the Muslims as a righteous man, like many righteous men ruled the Muslims before. But that's it. There's nothing very, very special about uh, uh, his lifespan that it lasts forever, at least 1,200 years. If he appears tomorrow, if he appears in 3,000 years, he will be about 4,000 years old. So this is, we can't believe in that. And so because they separated from us and they kept themselves to themselves, they have developed many other beliefs as well, like they self-harm themselves, beating themselves with the chains, with the thumping their faces and their chests, and with knives as well, with hammers, and they harm themselves every year um, for some reason or another. Uh, they're mourning one of the imams, while they don't mourn the death of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Right. So there, anyway, these are the five major differences I mentioned today. The first one is the Khilafah, the leadership of Muslims, whether it should be Khilafah or Imama. That's Imama the second, because not only this or that, is the status of the Khilafah and the status of the Imama. The status of Khilafah to them is all corrupt and anti-Islamic. The status of Imama is all superhuman beings who were um, infallible and above prophets in status. So that's two differences. The third one is the mut'a. They believe in prostitution. The fourth one is taqiyya. Don't tell the truth to the Sunni, not to anybody else, to the Muslim Sunni. Don't tell them the truth about your beliefs or your practices. And the fifth one is um, the essence of the character or the character of the Imam Al Mahdi, who is a living human being and hiding somewhere. We don't know where he is, wherever he will be there. Now, do all the Shias believe in that? Well, most of the Shia, all of the Shias, most of them, I would say, believe in two or three of those, right? Most of them. The Shias in general in the world, there are about some what 15, 20% of the Muslims in the world are Shia. Some say even only 10%, but anyway, the Shia are divided into four major groups now, although the minor groups over 60 or 70. The major groups are the Twelvers, those who believe in 12 Imams, and they are in Iraq and Iran and in Lebanon. And there are the Alawis, there are millions of them in Syria and Turkey. What are the Alawis? The Alawis are those who believe that Ali was a god incarnate. Just like the Christian believe Jesus was son of God, they believe Ali was a god as well. So there's the Twelvers. the Alawis, the Zaydis, the Zaydis in Yemen, which are the nearest to Sunnah. They don't believe in most of these beliefs, except that the Imams should be the first one. They don't curse the Sahaba or the Khalifas, but they think that their Imams should have been the Imams. And then the Ismailis. And the number of those sects vary within time. At one time, the Ismailis were the majority in the world among the Shia. They ruled North Africa for 200 years. The Twelvers were very, very few. At one time, the Zaydis were in Yemen, and again, they ruled for 400 years, and they were the majority of the Shias. And now, the majority are the Twelvers, and we don't know whether this will stay as it is or it will change with time or not. But this is their status, right? Even the Twelvers, amongst them, there are many differences. Like the Twelvers believe that the Imams were Ali, the Prophet's cousin, and his offsprings. He had many sons, amongst them Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, Hassan, and Hussein. So some Shia believe that Muhammad ibn Hanafiya should be the successor of Ali, and they formed a sect. I don't know what they call it. I think Kisaiya. I don't know what they are. I'm not sure about this. But they formed a group that was at one time very popular. Then others say no, this is Hassan and his offsprings. Others say no, it's Hussein and his offsprings. So there's a dispute among them who were the offsprings of Ali, who should have been the Imams. And then we come now to amongst the offsprings of each one of those offsprings. Again, there's dispute, right? So every now and then, some will take one of the great grandchildren of Ali and say, no, this is the leader, not his brother, and so on. So there are many, many subgroups. Because of all these differences, we cannot unite. To unite is just like to unite Christians and Jews. Either the Christians have to give up beliefs in Jesus and they become Jews, or the Jews have to believe in Jesus and they become Christians. The same. We either have to give up our beliefs in the Khilafah and accept their imams and the prostitution, everything. We don't accept it, they won't accept us. And if they accept this, if they believe on those 5 points I mentioned, we won't accept them. So it's really two different religions. And the sooner we declare this and make it official, the better for both sides. Then we can coexist as two religions rather than two sects all claiming to have the same religion. That's all, and briefly, what the different major differences between Sunnis and Shias, or Muslims and Shias. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me if I made mistake, and if I got it right anywhere, it's from the guidance of Allah. All mistakes is due to my shortcomings. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.